Palma, Marseille, Rome. Oh my! You are going on a Mediterranean cruise and there are so many options for excursions. It's overwhelming. What do you choose? Today, I will share the excursions that we went on during our Western Mediterranean cruise. Stick around until the end of the video for a bonus shopping tip. I went on this cruise with my two sisters, who are much more fit and active than I am. So I had decided not to go on an excursion every day that we were at a port of call. This way I could have some downtime and some time to physically recover from the days that I did go on excursions. This worked really well for us. I did not go on an excursion on the first port of call. Our cruise went in and out of Barcelona, Spain. Our first stop was Palma, Spain. Palma is a city on the island of Mallorca, which is off the coast of Spain. Palma is known for its beautiful beaches and climate, for sailing, as well as many historic buildings and quaint city streets. The tour my sisters went on was called City of Palma Small Group. The guide leads you through the city on a walking tour, so be sure to wear your walking shoes and be ready to do lots of walking. Tours will indicate if they are easy, moderate, or strenuous. The island of Mallorca was beautiful. We really enjoyed looking at the island out the window as we dined. The sunset sail away was stunning. Next is Marseille, France, which is a very French city in the region of Provence. It is west of the French Riviera. In Marseille, all three of us went on an easy 3-hour excursion in the morning called Cinque Marseille. The excursion was a bus tour and took us to many interesting stops around the city. The most interesting was the Longchamp Palace and Fountain. It was the perfect place for a selfie. After the tour, you could choose to be dropped off at the Viewport Marina, or you could go back to the ship. We stayed at the marina because we wanted to go to Chateau d'If. Chateau d'If was made famous by the author Alexandre Dumas in the book The Count of Monte Cristo. The main character, Edmond Dantes, was held captive on this island prison for many years. For me, this was a bucket list destination. We took this tour on our own by purchasing tickets at the marina. The boat ride, self-guided tour, and the return boat ride took us less than 4 hours. There were steps and a moderate amount of walking, so keep that in mind. Once back at the marina, we began our walk back to the cruise port, to a bus that would take us to our ship. This walk was only half a mile, but we weren't 100% sure where we were going, and after a long day of walking, honestly, this last walk was almost too much for me. In hindsight, it might have been worth it to take a taxi. Marseille was indeed a day to remember. On our sail away from the city, we caught a glimpse of the famous Marseille sign. The next port was La Spezia, Italy. This may not be a town you are familiar with, but it is the typical cruise port for those with excursions to Florence and Pisa. On this day, we split up and my sisters went to Florence and Pisa. I went on an excursion to Cinque Terre. First, I will talk about their excursion, which was called Best of Florence and Pisa. This tour is strenuous and includes 3.5 miles of walking and standing for extended periods. On the bus ride, they saw where Carrara marble is quarried. If you Google Maps this area, you can see all the white marble. In Pisa, they visited the famous Leaning Tower for the required holding up the tower photo, and they learned about why it is leaning. They had lunch at Napoleon's sister's castle. Then they went on a walking tour of Florence and saw many familiar sights. They learned about the Medici family and saw a replica of Michelangelo's David. Most of the statues all over Italy are carved from the Carrara marble they saw on their drive. They were told Michelangelo would go to the quarry to pick out his own marble. My excursion to Cinque Terre left by boat near the ship. Cinque Terre means 5 lands. I first saw one of these cities on a puzzle and always dreamed of going there. We visited 2 of these terraced seaside cities, Vernazza and Monterosso al Mare. We had a delicious lunch here with homemade pasta and pesto. All 5 cities are connected to each other by train and walking path. Monterosso al Mare has a beautiful pebble beach. We also stopped at Porto Verne on our boat ride back to the ships. This trip stated it was strenuous, but I opted out of some of the walking. The most difficult thing was getting on and off the boat. The sea was really rocky and the gangway would toss up and down and back and forth. All 3 of us were very pleased with our excursion choices in La Spezia. If you're enjoying this video, please be sure and click that like button. Next stop, Rome, Italy. The ship actually ports in another city called Civitavecchia. It is about an hour and a half bus or train ride to Rome. I sat this trip out, but my sisters went on the Imperial Rome with Colosseum Exploration excursion. They were taken to Rome by bus, then went on a walking tour of Rome. The first stop was the Colosseum. They had been told it was not guaranteed that they would get to go inside, but they were able to. They also went to the Roman Forum, the Trevi Fountain, they said was very crowded. They had pizza in Rome on their own in Vatican City, and then on to the Basilica. Our last port was Naples, Italy. We were so surprised when we woke up in Naples because the ship port is downtown Naples. The excursion all 3 of us took was easy exploration of Pompeii. As we rode a bus towards Pompeii, we could see Mount Vesuvius, which still has the potential to erupt again. On the Pompeii site, we saw the Colosseum, the homes of some wealthy families, the streets and vendors, we saw food still intact although charred. We were also able to see the plaster casts of bodies who were encased in ash. When the bodies decomposed, voids were left. Plaster has been poured into the voids to create the plaster casts. Once we returned to Pompeii, I was pretty tired, so I went back to the ship and my sisters explored Naples. They walked about 1 kilometer to the Municipio funicular station. They rode it for about 15 minutes and then got off at the Vanvitelli station. Then it was another kilometer walk to the Castel St. Elmo. They didn't go into the castle, but the city views at the top were amazing. You can see Mount Vesuvius in the background. All 3 of us agreed Naples, and especially Pompeii, was our favorite port stop. Okay, I promised a bonus shopping tip. There's plenty of shopping at all the ports, including pearls in Palma and lavender soap in Marseille and cameos in Pompeii. But my best tip is to purchase t-shirts on the cruise ship when they have their t-shirt sale. I believe these were 2 shirts for 30 euros. I bought 4. I love them and wear them all the time. They are a souvenir from the port cities and from the cruise ship. Hi, this is Crystal with Dudley Doesn't Get to Go, because Dudley, our sweet dog, doesn't get to go with us when we travel.